then. All right, here we go. We're broadcasting, pushing this button, pushing this button.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parsons.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weigheinradio.com.
I don't know, Fred. Should we lead a radio show off with Fuller House talk? Should we not?
Mike, I just have one question for you. Whatever happened to predictability?
I believe it went back to Belky Botakamus's home country.
What happened
the milkman?
To the milkman, the paper boy, to evening TV?
Here's my question. Full House debuted what, in the late 80s?
88. Full House came out 88.
What were there still milkmen working in the San Francisco area in 1988? That seems like something that might come back now because vintage is very in and locally sourced and quaint. I think that the vintage vinyl purchasing demographic would love a farm to table milkman service in their bohemian neighborhoods.
The thing about it, in my opinion, Mike, is in '88, those things were already gone. So that was the thing. They were playing on it because you wanted, your old familiar friends waiting just around the bend.
Just around the bend. Well, Fred, and I got to be honest, I think that leading a radio show off, especially one that's as hard-hitting as ours,
I would say the hardest,
with Fuller House, is a bit fluffy. But if I'm being honest with myself, it's the most important thing going on in my life right now.
I have spent what's 13 times 28 minutes. I've spent that long watching Fuller House on my Netflix, and at 31 years old, it's the first and only time I've ever binge watched anything.
And you know what? This may be a very clever ploy by Netflix to get some of us elder millennials into the binge watching habit, because Fred, I read all the cord cutting blogs. I'm a member of the cord cutting subreddit. For those that don't know, cord cutting is when you ditch cable and just subscribe to on-demand services like Netflix and Hulu. And is it Amazon Prime? Amazon?
All those things you just named, I have a subscription to all of them.
Right, and I would like to have a subscription to all of them, but I just can't get myself in the habit of it. I still love sitting down and channel surfing and finding stuff by accident. I love channel surfing on a Saturday, watching 3 hours of Roseanne and then 4 hours of Ancient Aliens on the History Channel.
Hold on to that Roseanne thought. I agree with you, though, Mike, because I'm a prominent live tweeter. I got to make sure I get my opinions out there to those who do and do not want them. And,
right.
And with that
whether
said,
you want them or not, you're gonna get them.
They're gonna be there. And I do it during sporting events. I do it during award shows, and I do it during things that are only available to you really through broadcast television.
That's true, and I think that maybe that's the new tech war here, Fred, is live tweeting during live television and binge watching. Is there a place for both? Me personally, I feel like you have to pick one because I work a 40-hour week, and I used to work a 60-hour week, and I get overwhelmed when I have a backup in a DVR. Adding House of Cards or Daredevil or Orange is the New Black on Netflix on top of everything that I have to watch on my DVR, it's overwhelming and it stresses me out.
See, I disagree. I can be behind in New Girl. I don't care. It's not important to me. I cannot be even 10 minutes behind on the Grammys. I cannot be even 15 minutes behind on the Oscars because, and I know we're going to talk about the Oscars, if you are going to have a platform where everyone in the world's watching you and you want to talk about racial tensions and you want to talk about sexual assault and you want to talk about global warming and you want to talk about all these other, yes, that is absolutely a platform to do it. And if I have a joke about it, I have to have that joke before anyone else.
Fred, you're right, because the night of the Grammys, Chelsea from upstairs and I, we were out and about, and we didn't get home till about 8:30, and the Grammys started at 8, and I felt like I could catch up fairly quickly, but all night I was about 20 minutes behind. So I'm in this time warp where I'm reading live tweets. I'm trying to get my takes out there because just like you, I have this megalomania where people have to know what I'm thinking right now, and I try to make it a thing with a 20 minutes behind on the Grammys hashtag. And yeah, I felt like I was the fat kid running the mile again in gym class. It's just no matter how hard I tried, I just could not catch up.
I saw and I'm looking it up right now as I'm talking to you. I saw a study earlier in the week, and it was either a health magazine or a scientific publication. So it was this thing called out of touch syndrome, and it's in the works. It's not done yet, but people are developing this this inner drive to have to be on top of every single thing that's happening. And if they don't learn about it first or immediately, they feel as if they feel like a physical sickness. They feel like a aging of themselves, that I experience. If I have to hear about something from my wife, then I'm pissed.
Luckily, I'm not. Luckily, for the most part, I don't have that. Like I said, if I'm following live event on television while people are live tweeting everything, that's one thing. But like, anytime a new thing on social media comes out, I can see how it's stressful, especially in our business, Fred, where you've got to be the first on Snapchat. You got to be the first on Yik Yak. But I mean, a lot of these stupid social media platforms come and go, and I feel like I'm ahead of the curve enough to become aware of something before it blows up. But I can still wait long enough to sort of notice if it's going to become a thing. Like Snapchat. Snapchat has I've known about Snapchat for about 2 years, and for those 2 years, it's been big, but it hasn't become quite mainstream, at least with people our age.
Well, I snap pretty regularly, right?
You're actually the reason I deleted my Snapchat, because I found your snaps to be really gross and disturbing.
Yeah, no, I would say the most descriptive word is obscene. The thing to me, though, Mike, about like snapping in IG and Twitter and Facebook and all these things, is whenever there is a phenomenon like Fuller House, to bring this thing full circle, is you now have a platform to discuss this thing, right? So Fuller House comes out last week. So as Fuller House comes out, everyone I know tunes in. Like everyone who is 30 years old plus kind of that age group that surrounds it, and that's the age group I live in. So,
right.
So they say, here's my opinion on Fuller House. Retort. And I need to be able to retort. If I'm not part of the conversation, I just like high school, man, I feel left out.
Yeah, and I actually kind of feel like this Fuller House thing has become a unifying event for people in our age group. And I think we're going to see more of these reboots. Obviously, there was Girl Meets World,
which was garbage.
Disney. Right. Well, and the thing is, Girl Meets World was made for kids. They're right. Trying to attract a young audience. A lot of people said, "Oh, wow, Fuller House is kind of dirty," but it makes sense because Fuller House is marketed to us. The edgier jokes, I guess, and the pop culture references. It's for us because you're not going to attract a young audience. A preteen audience with Fuller House. It was on 10 years before they were born. So I think.
Oh, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I think it's smart that John Stamos and the other producers of Fuller House decided to go after a older audience because, as BuzzFeed has shown us and as Jimmy Fallon has showed us, nostalgia's a big business. And to be honest, that first episode of Full House, when they were rehashing all their old jokes and they got all their catchphrases, it felt like the world's longest Jimmy Fallon bit.
Yeah, it was 35 minutes of cringe, and after you got through the 35 minutes, it opened up to a 12-episode season of actual storylines and actual happenings, which are fine. Some of them suspect, no spoilers here, but some of the characters don't develop as well as I thought they should have. Some you can tell maybe there's a paycheck in this for a couple of the cast members, and that's why they're there. With that said, go ahead. Well,
no, you go.
The final statement I was going to have here was, I think this formula, which you were just talking about, has existed already, and it was done by a thing called Melissa and Joey. And what Melissa and Joey was, not a reboot, but it was the idea of taking Joey Lawrence and Melissa Joan Hart and putting them in a rom-com that hit an age group just slightly older than us, just guys who grew up with Blossom. And we kind of grew up with Blossom, but we didn't love Blossom. And Melissa and Joey had that adult humor with the family and rom-com kind of situation. And Full House uses that idea with the storylines that we're already so comfortable with, because we both have an Uncle Jesse.
Sure. I like to think of myself as the Uncle Jesse.
To who?
To my niece, I don't know.
to my sprawling fans, to everyone out there. I wrote a review, Mike. I wrote a review on Fuller House, and I have one real takeaway from the review that I want to make sure everyone understands. It was without a doubt in my mind that Kimmy Gibbler is the best absolute character on that show. There's no doubt.
Yeah, well, certain characters shine at certain times. Gibbler. When Gibbler would get on a roll, she was on a roll. But even DJ, who's insanely hot.
Dime piece.
Yeah, and she's she uses that. It's not gratuitous, but she definitely plays up her assets, which was a little surprising to me because I know she's very religious, but nothing wrong with what she did. But she obviously knows that she's a very good-looking older woman, and she uses it as she should, because if you got it, flaunt it. But so she had some funny moments as sort of this square over the hill mom who's trying to keep up with DJ Stephanie. But a lot of people's big criticism of Fuller House is that it's cheesy. And to those people, I say, I mean, did you watch the original? I mean, what did you expect? If you're tuning into Fuller House looking for story arcs and character nuances like Breaking Bad, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, well, I agree completely. I said that in my review. I said it's like 31-year-old me is watching this through my 8-year-old eyes, but I comprehend it completely differently. Like when I was in 92 or whatever, when I was 8 years old, I didn't realize that every storyline had the same arcs and had the same points. And you were going to hit, what am I trying to say? You're going to hit benchmarks every single episode.
Right.
But you absolutely recognize it here. A is going to happen so that B occurs equaling C, so you can D your way out of this episode.
Right. Well, and there was that one episode with the flowers, where there is that mystery, giant hundreds of bouquets of flowers sent to one of the Tanner girls.
A grandiose gift was delivered to the Tanner house.
And of course, there were misunderstandings with humorous results all throughout until they finally found out it was someone they least expected, and the flowers were for someone that they didn't even think they were for. There was an exact episode in the original when Danny Tanner's girlfriend Vicky, her stepson, had a thing for DJ.
Yeah,
which that would have been weird if they got married. But anyway, so he wrote a love letter to her, and it got passed around, and it ended up with Gibbler thinking that Jesse was in love with her, Jesse thinking Rebecca was cheating on him, and yada yada. It was the same. I mean, yeah, you're right. You could actually act out the episode, because what they're doing. I mean, there's like 7 tropes in all of sitcoms that get used over and over and over. And I mean, Fuller House was a throwback to that, but it still kind of poked fun at its cheesiness and was aware of its place in pop culture. I think it was well done.
Oh, I agree completely. I love it, but I also hate it. If you stuck with us throughout the 13 minutes of Fuller House talk, there's only one question that remains, Mike. Fuller House was earlier this week green-lighted for a second season. Do the Olsen twins make their return in the second season of Fuller House?
I'm going to go with a cautious no.
I disagree completely. I believe if every cast member wears their clothing line, they will absolutely be there. By the way, I just ordered my Gibbler Stylo shirt. You're listening to The Weigh-In on 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com.
All right, good. I'm glad that dovetailed into a discussion other than Fuller House. That was good.
You didn't know I had Melissa and Joey ready. Bam!
Well, yeah. I didn't know someone else knew Melissa and Joey existed.
All right, what are we doing now? Should we go sports? Should we go politics? What's up?
Let's go sports just to hit our quota here. I've got some Steph Curry talk with all these old guys taking shots at him. I don't know if you have a better story.
That's a good one. What else do we got? We got Holly Holm, Misha Tate. A lot of pressure there because there's no point in having a rematch if she doesn't win that. Rematch, obviously, I mean with Rousey.
Ronda Rousey. Yeah. Yeah, too bad UFC's on Saturday because I'm sure there'll be something to talk about after that too.
I'm getting more into UFC, which I'm surprised.
Well, I think there's a lot more material is churning out. I think that they're developing superstars and personalities that kind of cross over into pop culture.
Yeah, Steph Curry works for me.
All right.
I got opinions.
Okay, good. All right, and you know what? We'll if Steph Curry thing dies, we'll transition into something else. One of us will feel it. So here we go.
Well, I could go 15 minutes on the 3-point line.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I love it.
All right. Okay, beautiful. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
These guys are like bad stand-up comics that you can't heckle.
WeighInRadio.com.
Welcome back to the weigh-in. Mike, you know I only do 2 things throughout the week, and that is 1, watch GIF recipes. I'm really into GIF recipes. I like the idea.
Have you made any yet?
No, I have not successfully done that. I need to buy a cast iron skillet, apparently. I didn't know it was such a vital cooking tool, but I will soon own one, and then I will then put tater tots in every meal that I eat.
Fred, before you go on to your second thing, let me tell you what my beef, pun intended, is with these stupid GIF recipes. All right. I no longer have the ability to digest cheese. Probably has something to do with the 8 years I spent delivering pizza and eating pizza every day. But I can no longer digest cheese. And I'll be watching these GIF recipes, and I said, this looks really good. And at the very end, they just back a dump truck full of cheese onto it, and I'm out. This world is not for me.
You're all the way through until the end, and then when you get through, I'm not. I didn't even do anything here.
Yeah, because Fred, I can't just leave the cheese out. That's not being true to the GIF recipe.
No, it's not fair. It's here's what's not fair.
Wait, what's the second thing you do during the week, by the way?
I watch the Golden State Warriors, Mike, and it is taxing. I feel like I cannot turn away from a game that Steph Curry is playing in, regardless if he sits out the fourth quarter. This team, they're refusing to let up. They want this record more than they want to ruin my childhood in the '96 Bulls. They want that in their hearts.
Well, Fred, you know what my retort is to the people who say you're ruining my childhood. The Ninja Turtles remake did not ruin your childhood. The Golden State Warriors beating the Bulls' regular season win record will not destroy your childhood. What destroyed your childhood was turning 25. That's what destroyed your childhood.
Steph Curry, I'm barely an adult. Steph Curry is on pace to hit 400 threes.
And Fred, sometimes I'm wrong. Yeah, I know. Let that sink in. Sometimes I'm wrong. And do you remember a couple weeks ago when I was doing this thing that everyone's doing now? The Golden State Warriors are so good. People are trying to find anything to nitpick about them, to the fact that not only do they start criticizing the way they win, or start talking about, is Steph Curry shooting too much in this victory? They start trying to predict their downfall, right? Because nobody can be this good, this consistently for this long. And I said a couple weeks ago that, hey, Steph Curry, he's hitting a lot of these shots from nearly half court, and as soon as he cools down a little bit, it's going to hurt the Golden State Warriors. Well, it hasn't hurt the Golden State Warriors.
No, it has not at all. As soon as Steph Curry steps across half court, if his feet are on the logo and he's open, He's open, Mike. He shoots from the logo regularly.
It's almost like he's constantly got the ball on fire from NBA Jam. Remember that? If you're on fire, you can up. Yeah, right. Boom shakalaka. You could hit you can hit a shot from anywhere on the floor. Well, that's what Steph Curry's doing. To the point that EA Sports, what is it? NBA 2K17 that's coming out. They're always a year ahead.
Yeah, not an EA game, but yeah.
Oh, it isn't? Well, who makes that?
2K, which is another company.
Well, anyway, the fellas making the video games, they have to rewrite the entire code because I guess they have this algorithm for like risk and reward depending on where you shoot from on the floor. And Steph Curry is so good at making these crazy shots, they have to rewrite the entire algorithm because it's not accurate anymore because Steph Curry has come in and changed the game.
Steph Curry's averaging 30.7 points a game, and he's earned the moniker great shooter, which he deserves. He deserves it. But, man, he's more than just a shooter, right? Like, he's got like 6 assists per game, 5 rebounds per game, 2 steals per game. He's an all-around dude. The list of dudes that are hitting those kind of benchmarks, it's short. It's very short. Like, he plays the all-around game of basketball, but he's so prolific at the one skill. That's the only thing he's known for.
Well, and another thing people get in the habit of doing when an upstart begins to dominate is a lot of times some of the older guys like to sort of dismiss what the new guys are doing. I've done it before, Fred. I'm sure you've been part of a club or a team that you felt like your era was the best and everyone who came before you was inferior just because they happen to be younger than you
right.
or come after you. I think I will cut. Was it Oscar Robertson? Yeah, it was Oscar Robertson. Yeah. A little bit of slack. He went on Mike and Mike, and they started asking him about Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. And, of course, he went on to say stuff like, Steph Curry is only dominating because of the new way basketball is being played. Back in my day, you'd get hand-checked or someone get a hand in your face.
Right.
And I'm going to give him a pass on that one because – okay, he was asked a question, okay, and he answered the question. And so many times, Fred, you know, being in this business, that about 95% of the time, if you interview anybody and you ask them a question, they're going to tell you nothing. So I respect people who actually give an opinion. But Phil Jackson, just kind of out of nowhere on Twitter, he throws some shade at Steph Curry saying, never seen anything like Scurry. I believe that's him abbreviating Steph Curry. Remind you of Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who had a short but brilliant run in the NBA. Now, that was unprompted.
That's rude. I would say that's rude.
Right. And look, you can't take anything away from Phil Jackson and all the championships he's won as a coach. But as a talent evaluator, this is the guy who gave Carmelo Anthony a no-trade clause for the New York Knicks. So, number one, when you're one of these older guys from years gone by, even if you're one of the all-time greats, when you start talking about how the current era or the younger kids coming up after you are inferior to your era, you just sound kind of bitter and out of touch.
Well, and so let's do this, Mike. Let's, for fun, I already looked up the numbers, so I have it ready for you. Let's remove the three-point line, right? The game's played differently now. He gets more points for the same amount of effort, this and that, and I'm an old man. Let's just take it out. Let's say that every single shot that Steph Curry takes is worth 2 points or 1 point from the foul line, okay? So instead of averaging 36, 5, and 2, he's averaging 26, 5, and 2. Like, he's still doing all right at 26, 6, 5, and 2. The three-point line is not making that big of a difference for Steph Curry, because he still is able to do everything else inside of 25 feet.
I think what people need to start doing is just appreciating what you have right now. All right, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, they're unique. I don't want to use the word special because it's overused, but I mean we are lucky to be able to watch this as it happened. And I think what we get so cynical that we always once we sort of get over how good they are and they don't fall, we start trying to find ways to tear them down before they start failing. And maybe everyone just needs to sit back and enjoy watching the Golden State Warriors and watching Steph Curry dominate, because obviously it's not going to happen forever. So just enjoy it while you can.
There's one final phenomenon, I think, right now in the Steph Curry conversation that is taking the internet by storm and taking pundits by storm, and that's that mouth guard. Have you seen that mouth guard?
No, he uses a mouth guard.
So he wears a mouth guard regularly, and he's constantly chewing on it. It's hanging out of its mouth, and it's become an iconic look. Kids will mimic it. And so Steph Curry, who I several times on this program have deemed Steph Curry the first Steph Curry, now has that look that people are going to emulate. So I want you to think back to Michael Jordan's tongue. I want you to think back to Tiger Woods' fist pump. I want you to think back to Chipper Jones' socks. He now
Ken
has
Griffey Jr.'s batting stance.
Yeah, and his Ken Griffey Jr.'s backwards hat. There's a lot of them. The Fab Five's black shoes. What I'm saying is, Steph Curry is now, and we talk about branding all the time. We talk about it specifically with Cam Newton and the dab. These guys, once they develop that thing that every single person can do, every kid who plays basketball cannot shoot like Steph Curry. Every kid who plays basketball can keep his mouth guard hanging out the side of his mouth like Steph Curry does. He's now every kid's favorite player. He's got it figured out, man. He's the full package on the court and then transitioning into the lexicon.
Yeah, well, and also the interesting thing about Steph Curry too is, does he have any endorsements?
Under Armour.
Oh, but I mean, I don't see him in a whole lot of Under Armour commercials. Do you? I mean, maybe is it? Well, I haven't seen a whole lot, but that doesn't mean it's not there. But I mean, that's his one product. You start seeing these other guys who come into the league, not just this league, any pro sports league, and they become very public figures. And what happens is they start focusing more on their brand than their game and winning. I would point to RG3 as an example, even though that's not 100% fair because he got injured, but still, he's much more successful as a spokesman than a football player at this point. Steph Curry may have that endorsement deal with Under Armour, but you're not seeing him putting himself out there a whole heck of a lot. And I think that's going to serve him well, because I think that when you're coming into the league, and we talked about this the other week, it's very easy to take all that endorsement money and focus on that. But if you want to win, then you're probably going to take Steph Curry's route and focus on your game and focus on your team and focus on winning championships. And I think there's still guys out there who want to do that. And I think Steph Curry is doing that right now.
Well, I agree completely. I'm not saying that he's distracting himself from the game. He's
right.
Think more of a LeBron James throws the talcum powder in the air. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. He's still focused on Dikembe Mutombo would wag his finger. You know what I mean? Like there are these little nuances that translate outside of the sport. Johnny Manziel with the money fingers, right? Obviously, Johnny's a terrible example.
Yeah, that didn't work out too well for him.
Because I congratulations to him. He just got caught up with a beautiful girl in Miami. He's the man. But yeah, I think that these things help with that overall branding that's going to make him more acceptable, like I said, in the greater view up from 30,000 feet up. He's a guy that you're going to be able to start putting on a level with some other guys that have, iconic remembrances.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if anything else, it'll just make him a more recognizable figure out there. Maybe he won't get a big endorsement deal with a mouth guard company, but like you said, kids on the playground are going to start mimicking him, and they're like, "Hey, man, why do you have a mouth guard?" "Oh, it's what Steph Curry does." "Who's Steph Curry?" "Oh, wow, I really like watching him play." And then that even if it's not for branding purposes, like selling your image, it still gives you a higher profile, makes you much more recognizable.
It creates like an automatic connection too. So let's go to basketball, for example. I played basketball growing up. I played a lot, and I would wear a cutoff T-shirt. Well, when the And One mixtapes came out, my cutoff T-shirt cuts got a lot lower, all the way down to the waist, because that's how they wore it in the video. And because they
Right.
were that way in the video, whenever I was that way and every other kid that I knew watched the N1 mixtape videos, we have that automatic connection. And I think it's a similar thing here where it's going to be unspoken game respects game kind of idea where different groups are going to be able to rally around this thing and it'll bring like a togetherness. I like it. I think it works. It's a fun thing. Kids can emulate it. I'm so pro Steph Curry that he can't do anything wrong. I could not be more over with Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, nice kid, does a good job. It's the weigh-in, weighинradio.com. Hold on. I'll edit this. It's a very small button.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
dead serious. So you have to send it to me. It's going to be my new text thing.
Okay, I will email it to you. Okay, all right. So we did our sports. Okay, now we could talk about anything. You talk about people moving to Canada.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that.
Okay. Here we go. All right, that'll be our next topic here. I'll bring us in.
Now, back to the weigh-in. Weighинradio.com.
Fred, a friend of mine brought this fact to my attention. If what seemed impossible happens in November of 2016 and Donald Trump is elected president, he will be the first U.S. president to receive a stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Dang.
But
No
of
one's
course,
gonna have a problem with that.
damn, Stone Cold at it again with stunning our elected leaders.
Back at it again with the double middle fingers.
What if Stone Cold comes out and endorses a Democrat? If you want to vote for Bernie Sanders, give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hey, Bernie Sanders spoke at my university last week.
Did he? How'd it go?
Yeah. To my knowledge, good.
Fred, I've been using this joke all campaign season, and I wish I knew where I saw it because I want to give him credit because it's so true. Bernie Sanders always looks and sounds like he's sending food back at a restaurant, doesn't he?
No, I'm not following you. What do you mean?
He's just always talking like this, and I could just see him, out in on the Upper West Side saying, "Excuse me, waiter, this minestrone, it's all wrong. It's cold. There's income inequality, and there's no access to healthcare or education. Also, I asked for crushed ice, not cubed ice in my iced tea."
So, in your mind, Bernie Sanders is actually Larry David playing Bernie Sanders in your mind.
Yeah, and you know what? I thought that even before the Saturday Night Live bit, but yes. Look, he seems like a nice man. He seems to genuinely care, but I that's all I can see is when I see him. He sounds like a grouchy old man sending back food. Excuse me, this is romaine lettuce. I asked for iceberg. I'm not paying for this. Get me the manager.
I know I already ate half of it, but I'm sending it back. The part that I wanted is gone, and that's not up for conversation.
I mean, I tried. I just couldn't. I just choked this slop down anymore. I want to talk to a manager. Just take it off my bill. I'll eat it.
Super Tuesday came and went last week, and it's obvious what's going to happen, Mike. I think it's every year since 1988. Whoever wins the most states on Super Tuesday becomes the nominee for that party. Okay, so that means right now Donald Trump for the Republican Party and one Hillary Rodham Clinton for the Democratic.
Yeah, and I guess after those two were announced the winner of Super Tuesdays or getting the most elected delegates, like Hillary Clinton won seven states, Bernie Sanders won 4, but overall the night belonged to Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And I guess moving to Canada was the #1 Google search for the next 24 hours. And
it's crazy to me that Donald Trump is so polarizing that everyone in the Republican Party hates him and everyone in the Democratic Party hates him. Is he the savior we've all been looking for, Mike?
I don't know, but I know this. when this election season started, and I don't like talking politics a whole lot on the show because I've come to the realization, Fred, that everyone's pretty nice until you start talking politics. So if I make a political statement on the show, I try to balance it against both sides. But when this election season started, the two people I said I would not vote for are Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
But no matter what, I still, it's still not worth me uprooting my life and moving to Canada like a lot of people are threatening to. Because let's be honest, nobody who says they're moving to Canada if Donald Trump is elected or if Hillary Clinton is elected are actually going to move to Canada, because that would be stupid.
The list of people I saw that said they were going to move to Canada if, excuse me, if Donald Trump was elected, they're going to be pleasantly they're going to hate it. Like, what they want is not there. If you move to Canada, gays can get married in Canada. Sorry. You want to move, they have stricter gun laws if you move to Canada. You want to move to Canada, they have all these things that you do not want. Like, going to Canada is not your solution. Detroit is about 5 freaking minutes from Canada. You've seen it. You know the people there. You're not going to get the acceptance that you want from Canadians, guy who cannot believe the situation.
Well, actually, you will, because Canadians are very nice, and you're right. Detroit, if John Holloway is sitting on the riverbank in downtown Detroit, and he has one of those Vortex footballs, remember those footballs he used to throw out of Mile High Stadium? He could actually throw that football and hit Canada, and every year it's like a rite of passage when you turn 19 to go over to Canada to drink, because the legal drinking age is that much lower. But yeah, I mean, okay. Number one, do people actually look into what it takes to move to Canada? It's $1,000 in fees and about an 8 to 12 month wait. Okay, you can't just pick up and get an apartment in Canada. That's not how it works. And number two, you probably have a life established here already. Okay, do you really want to pack up and drive the ice road up in Yellowknife because you don't like the person who's been elected? I think everyone a very fearful period when it comes to politics, because it seems like a very high-stakes game. I remember 2004, Fred, the very first election I was able to vote in.
Right.
My sister, who got heavy into activism at her college, was telling me all these terrible things George W. Bush was planning. And if he got a second term, just how the entire country was going to go down the tubes and there'd be World War III and everything. And I thought to myself when I was 20 years old. Yeah, 19, 20 years old, that, oh man, this sounds really scary. If George W. Bush gets a second term, I want to move to Canada. Well, George W. Bush got a second term, and nothing that we were afraid of happened. So I think for a lot of people, this is their first election for that. And if Donald Trump is elected president, which, however you feel about that, his tenure is going to come and go, and some bad things are going to happen, some good things are going to happen, but your life isn't going to change all that much. And you'll realize that a candidate that you don't like becoming elected is not the end of the world.
Before you rent a moving truck, and before you find an application and print out an application and just decide what kind of immigrant you're going to be to Canada, and by the way, you probably hate immigrants, but before you do, at least visit freaking Canada. Go up there and just look at it. Like, you don't even know if you like it, man. How do you know the difference between Vancouver and Toronto if you've never been to Vancouver or Toronto?
You know, it'd be funny, Fred.
I'm sure there are other cities in Canada, but those seem like the two that are the most realistic to live near or about or near.
Well, this is what you have in Canada, okay? You've got Vancouver, you've got Toronto, then you've got your Calgarys, and the rest is just uninhabited tundra.
Right, French.
Yeah.
90% of Canadians live within 90 miles of the U.S. border. That's a real statistic. Canadians don't even want to be Canadians. They want to live in America. The United States part of it, because I do realize that Canada is actually on the continent of of America.
You know, it'd be funny, Fred, though, if Donald Trump became president and there was all these illegal American immigrants going into Canada, and the government of Canada built a wall and made America pay for it.
Keep out them Michiganders, which I assume is the accent that would be adopted by all Canadians.
Right. You see there, I've got nothing against these Yankees there. They're just up here driving down our wages, you see.
Hey, coming up here and taking all our hockey jobs they are. Wait, that was more JFK.
I'm terrible with accents too. Well, here's the thing, Fred, okay? When Americans think of Canada, we just think of America, but people are nicer.
If I go to a grocery store and they don't have the brands that I'm familiar with in that grocery store, I will never feel at home.
Yeah, right. Well, you know what could happen? Well, what's probably going to happen is all of these anti-Trump or anti-Hillary Americans are going to start inhabiting, that vast Canadian wilderness, and they'll start their own country. And then what they'll do is they'll start they'll build a wall and try to keep Canadians out of Canada.
Did you see The Reverend?
I have not.
No, you cannot go. There are bears. It is all bears. Did you see Into the Wild? Which I know is technically in Alaska, but I mean Alaska is basically like the nipple of Canada.
But you know what, Fred? You can't get to Alaska without traveling through where?
The ocean?
Canada.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
That was like an alley-oop that just went right through your hands.
There's no way I'm driving through Canada again. I would go to Seattle, and I feel like there's probably a cruise. You probably get there nicely. Maybe they probably have an airport in Canada. I feel like everywhere in Canada, people have those little planes that have 2 seats and can land on water. This is how city I am. I'm such a slicker.
That's the only way to get around Canada. Either that or by mooseback.
Yeah, biplane. Yeah, they're called biplanes because you get there by plane, right?
Yeah. That's it's an Inuit term. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, long story short, I watched all of Super Tuesday. I couldn't believe the results myself. I didn't think it would be what it was, and it was a whooping. It was like Bernie Sanders was basically Aroldis Chapman's girlfriend. Like he took a whooping, and Hillary. No, too soon. Hillary came out in front, and then Trump. So they're gonna go at each other, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun with politics over here over the next couple months because it's not hard to paint Donald Trump as a bad guy, and it's not hard to paint Hillary as a bad gal.
No, the two people that everyone hates the most are going to become our candidates. The one silver lining, though, of a Trump candidacy, Fred, are going to be the Donald Trump Kanye West debates for the 2020 presidential race.
You listen to The Weigh In on 590 The Fan, 590thefan.com.
All right. Okay, so let's see. This next one, what do you want to talk? You want to talk Oscars? You want to talk the Pornhub map? You want to do a little bit of everything?
See, Pornhub was a bunch of people uploaded Kanye West album
on Pornhub.
Yeah. So if you want to stream Kanye West album, on Pornhub.
That's funny. No, but they okay. We'll touch on that a little bit. No pun intended. And then we'll go into the Oscars because there's a couple weird things about the Oscars that I want to talk about. So we'll talk.
The thing I searched for is not on this map.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. There's one trend there I find weird, and I'm sure you can probably figure it out. Here we go. So you want to bring us back in?
No.
Okay.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
Got him!
WeighInRadio.com.
It seems like every year, Fred, Pornhub puts out a map of the United States with the most searched term by state. And I realized that I do not know what state is what in New England. Still, as a 31-year-old man with a college degree, I cannot tell you what state is what in New England.
I can name all 50 states and all 50 capitals. Go.
Well, you would go, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, well then I'm not going to do it. But yeah, I'm alleging that I could do it.
So, according to this Pornhub map, Fred, of the most searched porn terms by state, America still loves good, clean lesbian fun.
That seems like a regular one to search for. As far as weird stuff to look for, that seems pretty safe to me.
Yeah. I also find it interesting how people search for the same thing, but they use different colloquialisms. One day I'll learn how to say that word. Like in Louisiana, the number one searched porn term is black, and next door in Mississippi, it's ebony.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice.
But there's a really weird, maybe this is an emerging trend, I don't know, but all over this map, one of the most searched terms on Pornhub is stepmom or stepsister. Let's see. Oregon is all about the stepmom. Kentucky is all about the stepmom, which makes sense. Ohio, stepsister is the number one searched porn term. Maine, Wisconsin, Montana, Wyoming.
I have a theory on this, Mike, and I've given it about zero research or effort, but I believe I know what it is. It's the destruction of the nuclear family.
So you're saying the destruction of the nuclear family is causing these new types of families, these step families,
yes,
to emerge, and okay, whatever. Your dad remarries someone when you're 13. She has a daughter your age, and of course you're not related by blood, and so you have the hots for your stepsister, and then that manifests through your.
Yeah, that's my idea about this, because it's so commonplace now. Because years ago, when me and you were growing up, when my mom wanted to have an affair, she would just do it with her friend, and then her friend's daughter was still just like a person that I knew. But now, because you can so easily divorce and remarry and do these things, that relationships that weren't always, now they are. Like, so now it's official.
Right.
So nothing has changed, but everything has.
So do you think if if divorce wasn't so commonplace, people would be searching just like sister? Or
I do think when we were growing up, I feel like girl next door was a term. But now girl next door is actually your stepsister, because mom doesn't just go over to the neighbor's house anymore and hang out.
That's a damn good theory, Fred.
Yeah, because my parents are divorced. Your parents are divorced. All parents are divorced. At least 50% of them, I think, by actual statistics. So
my parents have been married for 40 years, actually.
Yeah, well, and congratulations to them. My parents got divorced after 20. But the point I'm trying to make here is, after all of these relationships, it exfoliates, right? So if two parents get divorced, then that's one divorce, but that's two people, right?
Yeah.
So then it spreads. So there's step on step on step, which is a different show from the 90s that needs remade.
Right. With Al, as long as Al's still hot. But that's interesting. So maybe in Maine, maybe in Ohio. You know what? If we had more time, I would like to research the divorce rates in those states, because I think that's a plausible, fascinating theory, Fred.
20.8% of visitors that use this website are from America, so that's not a majority of the visitors. And then also, I didn't know this, 66th most popular website on the internet. I don't go to it a ton. I use it a lot for jokes and stuff. This and that, and so it's not really my bag, but it's a valuable resource to people who want it. And by people I want it, I mean who want to listen to the new Kanye album, because Pornhub has the entire Kanye album available for listen.
Wait, so is this Kanye being a marketing genius, or is this somebody trolling Kanye and giving away his product for free to spite him?
Yes, that is the one that I'm hoping it is. But it didn't have to be Kanye West. I don't have a certain anger or any sort of aggression towards Kanye West, but he seems like the kind of dude that I laugh at when he gets his comeuppance. And this is comeuppance. Like, if someone takes your entire album, uploads it to a porn website, and then makes it available for people to watch, I love that. By the way, also a lot of Halo highlights on Pornhub. Kids put their Halo videos on there.
What? I mean, this sounds weird, but can't you regulate that? I mean, Pornhub's not a place for Halo for Halo highlights.
Do you ever see
Pornhub's a place for money shots and the like.
every Christmas they release a usage chart that like tells you how many like viewers or people, and it's always right at the holidays when everyone's at home. It spikes. There are more people like on the 1 week break around Christmas than any other time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what? You know what? Someone on Pornhub should do. They should upload that Wu-Tang album that Martin Skrell jerk bought, so that no one can listen to it.
It probably is there. I would be afraid to type the words Wu-Tang into Pornhub.
Right, because who knows what kind of pop-ups you'll be targeted for then.
We are a weekly show here. We broadcast every Sunday, and with that said, it's hard for us to talk about last Sunday, but we're going to give it our best chance. We're going to give it our best effort here at the end of the episode. The Oscars were last Sunday, Mike. Politics galore in the Oscars, right?
Yeah, let's see. What did I watch up to? I watched up to about 10:30. So I missed Leo's speech and I missed Lady Gaga's her powerful performance about sexual abuse. But I think all eyes were on Chris Rock and his monologue. And I think he did a good job with his monologue. He kind of came out and said, okay, look, as a society, we have bigger fish to fry than diversity of award show. But this is why people are upset. And he kind of poked fun at all sides. And I think he was almost a voice of reason as the host. It's a shame that it was so lowly rated, because I thought Chris Rock had an impossible task, and I think he handled it beautifully.
I tell you, I liked the message, and the message to me was it's not a shame that they're being left out of the award show. The best that perform get awarded. The shame was they don't get the same opportunities as Caucasian actors. So it's not the awards that's the issue, it's the roles. The roles are not there for them, and that has a lot to do with the people who produce films and the people who make films. They are not people of minority. With that said, there was an outrage about viewers of the Oscars that it immediately turned them off. And they weren't hearing the message that was being explained. They were hearing the message they wanted to hear, which was anti their viewpoint or anti their opinion, which I'll just say bigotry is what it is. It's people who choose to hate another person or race for whatever reason that's outside of my comprehension. But I thought Chris... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I thought Chris Rock, under that great pressure that you mentioned, brought the heat. I thought he told a story through comedy that had to be told that night, and I like that the conversation started regardless of people's opinions of it.
Yeah, and look, as someone who's not an actor, I'm not going to get all revved up about diversity at award shows, and but I think that if you see a problem in your profession, right, like a lot of these actors, a lot of these minority actors see, then try doing something about it, and that's what they're doing. And I think that the backlash against the people protesting was actually sillier than the people protesting themselves, because it's not something that affects you and me, and it's kind of silly that all these rich actors are talking about not getting the same opportunities, but they probably don't. I mean, as a white guy, there's certain things that as much as I try to see, I can't see them. And for the normal everyday American, okay, diversity of award shows isn't a big deal. But if that's your profession and you feel like you're mobilized and you have people to support you and that you have the power to make positive change for yourself, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that mindset. The outside of the race, there were some other strong political issues brought up. Vice President came on. He talked about sexual assault, which is a conversation I think should never stop. Until sexual assault is completely removed, which I fear will never happen.
And you're not going to get a whole lot of debate on that, right? Like everyone agrees sexual assault's bad and it needs to be eradicated.
So a real powerful performance by Lady Gaga and some powerful words from Joe Biden. So I thought that was excellent. I thought that was a big deal. Leonardo DiCaprio spoke on the environment, spoke on global warming, which depending on what side of the fence you're on, and if you're on the side of the fence that says it doesn't exist, that's just jump over right now. Figure it out. Global warming is a real thing. If it's secular, cool. If it's El Nino, cool. But factually speaking, we are warmer now than we've ever been, and it could lead to problems. I'm not saying it's not natural. I'm just saying it's happening. I think it's good to kind of raise that awareness, because there might have been some kids watching that didn't know anything about it, or maybe they're not exposed to it at home, that maybe they can get an opportunity to take a look and learn something.
Well, to me, what was odd, and this is kind of frivolous. This has nothing to do with the politics. It's got nothing to do with the race relations. Just how invested everyone all of a sudden got into Leonardo DiCaprio winning an Oscar. I mean, I like him fine, but it seems like as a society, as a hive mind, we all sort of jump on ideas very quickly, and people are acting like Leonardo DiCaprio's been getting the shaft his entire career, and then when he finally won his Oscars, it was like it's like people's kid won the state championship or something. It was really odd.
No, you're right. It's I grew up with Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know if you know that, but I'm not the only one. Everyone in the country did. So it's like
Luke from Growing Pains.
Yeah, it's a friend you wanted to see succeed, and early you saw that spark. You saw with What's Eating Gilbert Grape. You saw him do it at a very what was the movie where Robert De Niro beat him up real bad?
Was it The Departed?
No, this is years ago. But
A Boy's Life.
Yeah, A Boy's Life. So you've seen Leonardo DiCaprio grow, and you want to see him succeed. So I definitely get that kind of draw. Also, real quick, I want to make sure we mention it because I don't want people to think we didn't. Sam Smith had a lot of powerful words for the LGBT community, and I don't know where you sit on this either. Not you, Mike, but the listener. People deserve to be able to love whoever they want to love, and I think he got that message out there, which was a big deal to me.
Well, Fred, I thank you for watching the Oscars much closer than I did. We'll be back next week. It's the weigh-in, weighинradio.com. See you. Good show, everybody.
GG.
Yeah, that was a good show.